on Saturday. That's such an important thing. Probably a lot of you didn't even know that. He's a 9-figure advertiser who's actually spent more than $30 million on ads. He's also featured in the Forbes Business Council and 30 Under 30 in New York Weekly. Why is the copy so important? How do you help your clients have the right copy?
I mean, copy is a difficult space because
the old way to the new way. Like there's got to be some like comparison.
Like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts are short form, but as soon as you go to TikTok, it needs to be faster. So every platform has its own personalities. You
what the heck prevented you from watching? What are we gonna do? Should I forgive you this time? Playful tone. I just show you something. So let's talk about some of the problems you had and what do you feel kind of caused those problems?
So the biggest thing that we experienced was that.
All right, welcome to another episode of Closers Losers. Jeremy Miner. I'm back in the flesh. Had 2 crazy surgeries the last couple months. That's why I'm wearing shorts. I got Band-Aids all over me healing up. I am here with an interesting guest. A lot of times, as you know, if you've watched our show, if you've been following me for a long time, or maybe you're listening somewhere, we bring in guests and we talk about sales, persuasion, and influence. Obviously, right? We're a sales training firm. And we typically bring in guests that more talk about what do you say, what do you ask, like how do you do certain things. But sometimes we want to bring in different guests to help you look at what you're doing a different way, to help you sell more. So whether you're a salesperson that sells anything, you're a W-2 employee, or maybe you're a 1099 rep selling for a company, or maybe you're a small business owner, heck, even maybe you're a CEO of a Fortune 500,000 company that goes to our podcast. We want to bring in guests to like really give you a different perspective. And that's what the guest I have today is. I actually interviewed this gentleman on the same podcast about 3 years ago when I think 5 people listened to it. And I think we get about 120,000 downloads a day now. So we've come full circle. This guy's name, I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I don't know if it's like Czech or Hungarian or Romanian or something. But we're going to call him, his last name, Wojo. There's a lot more after that. But Jason Wojo. Now, let me give you a little bit of background. He's a 9-figure advertiser who's actually spent more than $30 million of, people's money, his clients, on ads. We're going to talk about that. He's generated 122 million plus, which is 4x ROAS historically. Now, Jason runs ads for big names like Andy Elliott, who's here in Scottsdale as well. Pace Morby, one of my good friends. Mesa, 30 minutes away. Jamil, love that guy. Chris Cohn, love Chris, big real estate investor up in Scottsdale, been on his show. And Ryan Pineda up in Vegas, great guy, some big names. He's also featured in the Forbes Business Council and 30 Under 30 in New York Weekly. I think you have a much bigger bio. That's a very humble bio.
Yeah, humble bio.
Figure it was
so right to the point.
So thank you very much. So I wanted to, Nick, I'm going to hand that to you. So let's start off here. You got a new book, and I want to talk about this. It's called Ads That Sell. Mm-hmm. Seems like such a simple name, but a very powerful name. So what I want to ask you is, for whom did you write the book for, and really why did you write it?
So first off, thanks for having me.
In our makeshift podcast room in here. Our videographer does an amazing job in here while we get the new one built out.
Yeah. So I wrote the book primarily because the ad agency space has been this thing where people go to an advertising agency, they pay for services, they get their ads ran, and most of the time, like, they don't like ad agencies anymore. The word is used in a bad manner now.
Yeah.
Like when you hear ad agency, it's like, they're going to sell me a retainer, they're not going to do any work, blah, blah, blah.
They're not going to know my niche.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, you know what, can I share something with you? So when I started 7 Level back in 2018, I think in 2019, I was trying to figure out what to do. Hired like probably 4 or 5 different ad agencies in 2019 and 2020. All flopped. All took money. Really didn't understand my niche. Was doing like generic sales training copy. Didn't understand any PQ or whatever I had. And it wasn't really until we found a few different ad agencies that really knew what they were doing. And they weren't even big names, but they actually could do what they said they could do. So I totally get you, because I was really skeptical, like, they're not going to understand my niche or industry. So it's very rare to have somebody like you that actually has success. You actually get results for your clients. Crazy thing.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough space to be in. And the whole point of the book was to go over the actual components that make an ad that actually sell. So like in the ads that we run for the book, and even on the landing page, I always talk about like the 4 really important parts, which is like their offers, their landing pages, then their ads, and the omnipresence of being all over the internet, and then the KPIs. Like a lot of business owners don't actually know their numbers. They think they do, or they say they do. They're like, we make X amount a month, we get X amount of leads per month, but like, what's your cost per lead? What's your cost per qualified lead? Cost per qualified call? Like, how much is your setter making per hour? Like all of these things, revenue per call, all these numbers that are not being tracked in most organizations.
Yeah.
So I go over those 4 things in the book, and like I just want to take a different approach.
So you spoke about a few really important things here. You talked about being omnipresent. Why is that so important as a business owner, as a company, or even a salesperson? Like, people ask me, like, what would I have changed as a salesperson, let's say 8 or 10 years ago when I was just a salesperson as a W-2 rep? I'm like, oh, if I could have done like social media, like even organic marketing, even though I made millions of dollars a year just as a salesperson from the company leads and cold calling, I could have been way more than that had I just known how to do reels and stuff like that. I never even thought about it, right? So why is omnipresence so important?
So it's all about surrounding your prospect around the internet. Like if you're just getting most of your leads on Instagram and Facebook, well, what about TikTok? What about YouTube Shorts? Like we get most of our highest quality leads and clients from YouTube.
Yeah.
Because we want to funnel everybody there because it's more long form.
Because
like
they're searching too, right?
Yeah. It's all search intent, and if they're willing to watch a 30-minute YouTube video, they're gonna be able to spend more money on the phone.
Yeah, a little bit more indoctrinated, right, with what you're doing.
So like, just really having that omnipresence of, hey, like you saw me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it looks like, you're gonna see me everywhere. And then if you go to Google and search, Google presence needs to be dialed in, and you still have all that omnipresence. And then you have your YouTube retargeting video ads that are pre-roll, and you have all these other assets that you can run across the internet. So it makes it just more efficient, and also you could drop your ad costs a lot faster. If you're dependent on just one platform, that's the big piece too, is that people run Facebook, they get banned,
what are you going to do for the next 2 months?
Yeah,
now all their salespeople have no leads, like they don't know what's going on.
And then they quit.
It's so true. It's like you have to have a presence on every platform, from TikTok to LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram to YouTube Shorts, all those. And a lot of times, and as you know way better than I do, it's like your messaging's a little bit different on those different platforms, because sometimes you're speaking to different demographics. Let's talk about a little bit. You talk a little bit about that in your book, how your message has to be different to compare to who you're talking to.
Yeah, because some people will take an ad on Facebook and Instagram and automatically move it to YouTube. And I'm like, nope, different audience. And even with TikTok too, like TikTok is something that's still a good arbitrage. Get a crap ton of leads from there. And like the messaging has to be short former there. Like it's not as Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts are short form, but as soon as you go to TikTok, it needs to be faster.
It's a
more pattern interrupt. So every platform has its own personalities.
And what I found is typically, and I could be wrong, I'm not a marketer like you, but people who typically are on TikTok, not always, but a lot of times they have a little bit shorter attention spans, right? Because there's so much going on, like a new something coming in your face like every 10 seconds. So it's like you really got to capture their attention and really keep it. Whereas I think on Facebook and stuff, it's a little bit different, the attention spans. And sometimes the demographics are maybe a little bit younger on TikTok, although I think that's changing. I think a lot of even older people. I even heard the former president of the United States, Trump, just got on, somebody showed me, just got on TikTok. He had like 4 million followers in like, a day or two or something. So everybody's on TikTok now, presidents, all that stuff. Okay, so let's talk about in the book, and I've heard you talk about this, you always talk about getting your salespeople some easy layups for sales. What do you mean by that?
So it really depends on a company sales process, but let's just go through all the types of funnels that people run. People can run a sales letter to a book call. They can run an application to a book call, free opt-in to a book call. They can run a low ticket funnel or a webinar, whatever it looks like. You have to find out what that dialed in sales process is for your sales team to have easier sales.
Could you run all of those? Do some companies you work with run a series of those?
Yeah. So like we use it in kind of like a funnel. So there's top of funnel, whereas like you could have a bunch of free opt-ins or webinar signups, or just overall traffic to an Instagram or just like a sales page. And then middle of funnel is where those opt-ins are, or people who go to a low ticket funnel, they add to cart, they go to an application, they fill it out but don't book a call. And then bottom of funnel is where all the serious people fall to become buyers. And I think that every funnel should have its place. Like if
so describe for us, because some of the listeners here, like let's say they're a W-2 employee that sells cybersecurity up in San Francisco, they might understand what you mean by top of the funnel. Break that down in layman's terms. Like speak to us like we're kindergartners here, not advanced marketers. What does top of the funnel mean?
So top of funnel is where all of your prospects that you're selling come to either your website, they've checked out a video, they've watched a video to a certain point, they visited an Instagram, they visited a Facebook page, maybe they clicked on an ad that your company's running but didn't buy right away. So that's where all that traffic's coming to, where it's mostly awareness. They just want to know who you are.
They're seeing you, they're becoming aware, you're having more omnipresence. This is the very top of it. and then go down the list from top to bottom, like you did.
So then, then there's middle of funnel. And those are people who might have filled out a contact form on a website. They signed up for a webinar. They maybe they bought a low ticket product, like an info product.
So a little bit more invested, right?
Yeah, a little bit more invested. Or even they might have added to cart but not finished a low ticket
so
product.
they went to buy maybe a $27 book or something, and they just didn't finish it out, but they were close, so something happened. Or they almost pulled the trigger to buy, but they didn't buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you go to bottom of funnel, which is people who maybe they filled out a free opt-in and they attended the webinar but didn't buy. Or they filled out an application on your website but did not book a call on the very next page. Or maybe they booked a call but didn't show up.
They didn't show up. So they're more serious, but then something happened that prevented them from getting on. So you're approaching from the top of funnel people to the middle of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, obviously different with your messaging. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it so important?
I mean, the biggest piece is that you're leading people through a customer journey, just like down to the bottom of the funnel. So like it's the same thing with like a sales call. You talk to your, you talk to your prospect, you build rapport, you lead them in, they get case studies, you give them a pitch deck, you give them info, product knowledge, and then at the end it's just objection handling and they buy.
Sure.
So it's the same way that I look at that.
Okay, good. That's good. Okay, so what? So as a marketing partner, so when you have and what industries do you typically specialize in? Are you specialized in certain industries, or are you just kind of like any industry that works with you, that partners with you on their ads?
So we mostly work with coaches, consultants, home services, and then e-com.
Yeah,
so it is decently broad. We've built a lot of great systems for different niches and verticals. But there are some niches that we don't work with. Like, no, we don't work with everybody. If they're just like here's the thing that we've seen is like if we work with a lot of solopreneurs, there's a lot of friction in getting them a bunch of leads, having them be the setter and the closer and the fulfillment person, and then they either don't want to hire a salesperson because they're like, oh, I'm better and blah blah blah. They have an ego around it,
but they can't keep up.
Yeah,
it's not a scalable business, right? If they're trying to close all the leads, DM all the leads, run the business, do the finances, what are you going to do? That doesn't make any sense. So so let's go over like why when somebody partners with you, let's say that my good friend like Pace Morby or something. So why do people like that? Big names in that industry. Why do they come to your firm rather than going to the billions of other people that run ads?
Yeah. So the biggest thing with what I've built with my brand is running a lot of low ticket funnels. Yeah. Which we also call self-liquidation. So, selling a $27, $37, $17 info product on the front end that allows you to self-liquidate your ad spend. Because, guys like you and me and all these, big brands I work with, they want to spend as much money on ads, but not obviously lose money. So they want to self-liquidate. And that's what gives salespeople an easier layup too, is that you're talking to people who are financially committed, not just people who were curious and wanted to book a call and waste 40 minutes of your time. So it gives the overall culture and your numbers a better outlook. And
because it gets something in their hands, right? So they get something from you like, I want to say we have about 5 different SLO offers. Like one of them, we were talking about the NEPQ Black Book of Questions. Now with the physical copy, so they pay for $27, and then typically after they pay that, they'll go to like a next video and they'll say, hey, if you want like a training course that goes over this, you can have that for another $79. And I think our average what you would call like a front end buyer typically spends around $80 some with us before we even talk to them on the phone. So they're already kind of like they're going through some of the basic training we put in that book, and they're seeing how it works. They're making a few more sales. They're doing better, and they're like, okay, if this is the basic stuff, like I want the advanced stuff, like I want the training. So it works really good. Plus, it eats away your ad costs. I want to say that when we do that, I don't know all the numbers because our VP of marketing has this, but when we run our 5-day challenges, about 42% of our ad spend we get back from that.
Great.
So, if we spend, let's say, $500,000 on a 5-day challenge, we're getting back 150 to 180 grand that, just in that front end stuff, which is really good. Okay. And we have a great marketing team, as you know. So let's go over the offer. We talked about a lot of people come to you because they have really good ideas, or maybe they have some type of knowledge that they could really train people, whether it's like in dating or, gardening. It could be anything. I'm going to teach you how to garden, like have a off the grid house and how to grow your own food, right? But they don't really know how to put it in an offer. How do you help them like really combine that and put that idea in their head onto like paper where people want to buy it in like a training program?
So there's kind of a formula that I use for this. I look at first like who your avatar is and what's the massive problem you're solving at scale. So when we look at that avatar, we say, all right, cool. Like, what does this person actually want? You know, like it's kind of like buying a car. Like, people don't really buy a Lambo because of the brand. They buy because of the way it makes them feel.
It's a status thing. They want a higher status.
Yeah, and it's always like a result-driven promise in their own head and their own expectation that they make. So I look at what the avatar wants, and then I look at what are the expected results that someone's going to get. And then I look at social proof. I look at building your unique mechanism. So if you don't know what that means, for people who are listening, unique mechanism is like the NEPQ that you have.
Sure.
Okay, it's your unique selling proposition.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they can't go to Google, search it, and someone else comes up. It's your mechanism.
Sure.
So that's what differentiates the offer a lot as well. And then we make it an easy offer to where it's like, hey, there's got to be some type of guarantee or result-driven promise that gets them to say yes faster, because now we're decreasing the sales cycle. If your sales cycle is longer, you're going to spend more on ads, which drives up cost. And you want to get people through the funnel faster, because then they're going to find somebody else to go to.
Yeah, it's not only your brand, but it's how you, like kind of with like Russell Brunson, as you know, we're in his like Atlas membership, and he always talks about like, comparing the old way to the new way. Like, there's got to be some like comparison. So like when we talk about the old, the old model of selling compared to the new model of selling NEPQ. So it's all how you brand that in the marketplace, which you've done obviously a great job for your clients because they're omnipresent, right? All right, so copy. Why is the copy so important? How do you help your clients have the right copy? Because obviously you don't have good copy.
Yeah, I mean, copy is a difficult space because there's like ChatGPT, and people think that that's good enough copy, and it's not.
I got a funny story to tell you about this, and hold your thought because we go back. So every once in a while, like we have a Facebook group called Sales Revolution. We got like 130-some thousand salespeople in there, or whatever. And I'll see a post because I try to see a few posts here and there, and I'll scroll down there and be like, guys, look what I thought. I typed in, type me an NEPQ script for a marketing agency, and look what it did. And I read it and I'm like, that has nothing to do with NEPQ. That's like 1% NEPQ. And I'm like, the reason why it doesn't have anything to do with NEPQ is because ChatGPT is trying to find stuff about that industry from like free content I put out online that's not industry specific, right? So they're almost guessing, like if they're going to get industry specific training for any industry, they're going to have to license NEPQ and go through our actually paid training programs, right? So like they're guessing from like some YouTube video where I talked about a marketing agency and had a couple questions, and now they're guessing everything else. So you always got to, like you said, you got to be careful with ChatGPT, right now anyways.
Yeah, and like a lot of the copy that we do is mostly around storytelling. Like ever since we were kids, like we always enjoyed stories, even when our parents like reading us bedtime stories. So I go through a lot of storytelling, a lot of infatuations, which is exactly like the NEPQ. And then also like you always need to have like a crap ton of social proof. People like they know they need social proof. They don't realize that you should take the avatars of your pieces of social proof and use it to your advantage, either on your calls or even on the landing page. Like some people will put a social proof piece on there, and it's just like a very short description. Like go into the story more, and there might be a pain point in there that the avatar is experiencing that allows them to then draw back in, because then they're going to fall off the page.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's you have to be able to tailor your testimonials to the audience, because like here at Some Level, we have a bit over 23,000 testimonials now from salespeople that just post in our Facebook group or IG, and these are all clients. They're none of we don't do like like somebody saying, "Oh, this is so awesome," watching on a YouTube video, because they're a client, right? We can't really count them. These are client testimonials. But when we do our landing pages and stuff, we're not just going to put testimonials there of like every salesperson said, I used to make $4,000 a month and now I make $35,000 a month, because that might resonate to some people, but from some people, maybe their big thing is a testimonial with a lady that says, I finally feel comfortable on the phone.
Yeah.
And doesn't even talk about making more sales, but that might more resonate. Like, I don't feel comfortable on the phone. I want to feel comfortable on the phone. Or the next testimonial might be a guy that's older that, hey, I've never been in sales, and because of inflation, I had to, unretire and get a sales job, and I'm 71 years old, and I had to learn how to do this. It's going to resonate to somebody different compared to somebody that's like, I quadrupled my sales, might resonate with somebody. Or let's say somebody's like, I was already the top performer in my entire company, but then I went NPQ, now I'm the number one in the industry. Okay. So it's almost like you have to like kind of arrange your testimonials where they're going to hit every type of person watching, not just like a certain type of person for conversion.
So like one conversion boost that we've seen that's backed by like millions of ad spend is if you look at your chart, like if you have your stats on demo, let's say 25 to 34, you have 60% of your customers, and then 35 to 45 is another like 30. We actually take that and you divvy up your social proof stack on your landing page based on the age and then the percentages, and the the conversion rates are actually nuts.
That's crazy.
So it's a small little hack that I figured out, and it's like
that's
really
a good
cool.
little hack, and it could be like your demographic of the type of race you're marketing to, right? So if you're marketing to more let's say half of your buyers are Hispanic, you're going to want half the testimonials be Hispanic. Or if, let's say, 35% of your buyers are African American, you're going to have African Americans there, or whatever type of nationality, you want to be able to match the testimonials with it, because it's more, it resonates with them, right? Or from the same state, or there's so many different
and there's like a cool example was a client that I had about a month ago, and we helped her revamp her lander, and like she was targeting busy mom professionals, and she would always ask her clients for testimonials, and I was like, these testimonials though, like they're in workout gear. You need to get them with their suits on, like what they do as a profession, and the conversion rate literally increased when the testimonials had them in their suits instead of them in their
changing
gear.
Like work clothes that they actually wear, not like their yoga pants on Saturday. That's such an important thing. Probably a lot of you didn't even know that. Okay, what's the difference? You talk a lot about this, but what's the difference between cold and warm traffic? And then how does your firm help really warm up that cold traffic?
So
I know salespeople want to know this for sure.
So the biggest thing that like we see is cold traffic. Like when business owners or salespeople are taking these leads inbound and they're talking to them, they really have to understand where they're coming from in the first place. Because if they're just coming in from an opt-in, to me that's still cold. Because they haven't really done anything of an action yet to predicate that they're actually warm.
Meaning opt-in like name, email, phone number?
Yeah, like name, email, phone.
But they haven't bought anything.
Yeah, they haven't bought anything, or like maybe they haven't watched the video on the next page, or they haven't done something that actually requires intent. And we have to look at where they're coming from first, because then the salesperson can diagnose it better. Like, hey, I saw you opted in for a free sales script, let's say. Did you watch the video on the next page? No? Okay, cool. Let's actually revisit this conversation because you haven't watched the video. I'm going to shoot you over a text and you can actually look at it.
What the heck prevented you from watching? What are we going to do? Should I forgive you this time? Playful tone. I just show you something. Okay.
So it's like those things will allow a salesperson to better diagnose and be able to lead the sales journey better. And then also warm leads. I look at warm leads as anybody who has bought something. So when you run ads for your challenge, if they spent money, that's a warm lead. If they booked a call but didn't close, maybe they wanted to talk to their wife, or maybe they didn't get past the objection, whatever it looks like, and they wanted more product knowledge, like that's still a warm lead.
Still really warm lead, because they were right there at the finish line. They just didn't cross over, right?
And like some sales organizations, when they have a lead who's on the phone and then they talk to them and maybe they don't buy, the best thing that we've seen is just sending them to another person, not the same person talking to them. Getting a second voice has a higher conversion rate than talking to the same person again.
Over and over. Okay, that's good. And then how do you, let's say that somebody opts in. Like you said, they opt in, they maybe go through a video. What are some things that you have done with your clients to really help out those people to go from just an opt-in to an actual buyer? So
biggest thing is like a welcome sequence through email. Having the setter call them. We do a 3 dial for 7 days.
Okay.
So we try to triple dial them once a day for 7 days. We check if they open emails through triggers.
Okay.
And then from there, a lot of the clients that we work with, we try to actually lead them to YouTube or back to the video again.
Okay. Tell us why you do that.
YouTube is just, it's a huge blue ocean right now for people who want to actually like put the money up to create good content. Like they're willing to trust you more if they watch a video. Like I have we use this in our sales process. I have a video that I recorded, which was a whole 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I did 6 weeks in a row, and I took an e-com store from $0 to $152,000 in 28 days.
Wow.
And I recorded myself on Loom, like literally like
doing
the whole thing, click for click. And when people watch those videos, they spend so much money on the phone. The LTV is insane.
It's proof, right? Social proof. You're actually doing it. I love that. Okay, how do you? So this is one thing that you kind of talked about when you got here to the office. But you said, a couple years ago, you had some, maybe 2-3 years ago in your business, you had some issues with salespeople would come in and then you would lose some. Tell us a little bit about that, and then let's talk about some changes you made. So for the sales managers watching, the VP of sales, business owners, some changes that you can make to now, like you said, you're retaining 100% of your reps the last 2+ years. So let's talk about some of the problems you had, and what do you feel kind of caused those problems, the root cause, and then kind of what you did to fix that, and what you're kind of teaching people, their clients, what to do as well.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we experienced was that they didn't see anything beyond the money.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you know, they were making 15, 20 grand a month, which is, you know, not bad.
Yeah.
But they didn't see anything else. They were just like, oh, we're just selling clients on ad services. This is it. Like, are we going to develop new products? Do we have new services? Do we have events? Why are we not running a low ticket offer? Why is Wojo not posting every day on social? Like, I don't really think this is something that I want to be a part of, because salespeople, the long-term vision. And like, the people who left were the ones who were like, hey, I have a family with kids. Like, I'm not just here for money.
Yeah.
Like, I want to actually have something that, you know, like my kids can look up to me for while I'm doing, and know that I'm a part of something bigger.
They want to be proud of something. They want to have community, right? They want to feel like, they want to have swag. They want to feel like they're a part of something, right? It's you know, it's human behavior 101 that we want to feel like we're like a tribe, like we're in together something for an intended purpose, right? So, okay, so how did you notice that? Because a lot of business owners wouldn't notice that. They might just keep doing what they're doing, blaming the reps, and just kind of churning and burning. What caused you to like have to take a hard look and be like, hey, I need to improve this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing was, what I thought at the time was a lot for a sales rep. I was like, why aren't they just happy with the money? They got into sales.
They make $200 grand a year. They should be happy. Yeah.
I'm like, why are they so dissatisfied? Like, so many people would literally die to make $15,000 a month. So I'm like, interesting. And that's when I started to reveal the curtain on, like, you know, just seeing their body language on the morning meetings. Like, we weren't doing morning meetings. And then we started doing that. They get more motivated. And then, you know, I was doing the podcast. And then a big thing with sales is like, they're building rapport and talking to prospects, but also there's a networking piece. And they saw that I wasn't doing anything in the industry. They were like, you're not doing a book, you're not doing all these things. Like, that's why I started building out all these things, so they could be a part of something. And like, you know, partnerships that we're doing, and like, they're excited about it, and it's really cool to see that.
And I think it's important, you know, like one thing that we do, you know, our mission as a company is to change the way sales is perceived. We're in society, because how are salespeople viewed in society at large? Lower status, right? But there's an issue there, because if nothing's sold, there's no economy. If there's no economy, there's no such thing as a society, right? So it's like, wait a minute, if nothing's sold, because there's no salespeople, if there's no economy and there's no society, like, why wouldn't salespeople like be at the top of the pecking order with high status? And the reason why is because of the way they've been trained how to communicate. That typically drives people away that have problems that they could solve, but they just have been trained the wrong way to communicate, right? And so as an organization, you know, our team, we run this business because we generally, that's what we're doing. We're changing the way sales are perceived in society, one salesperson or a company at a time, right? And so our people like driving that. Like, that's why we come into work every day. That's why we get on team huddles every day. And that has really grown us like crazy the last couple of years. But it's also, like you said, they have to see a progression. They have to see a career path. So if they're a salesperson and it's just like, hey, here's a sales job and that's about it, there's no room for advancement, most salespeople will typically get bored after a year or two and be like, hey, I want to go to a firm that maybe I'm in sales for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but if I want to, I can get promoted to a sales manager, or maybe a VP of sales, or a division lead, or some other organization. So they have to have a vision of where your company's going, right? Not just like a, you know, hey, we're going to have, you know, 8 guys for the next 50 years and that's it. But we have growth, we have incentives. You know, we even have an ESOP program we're about to launch where we held back 10% equity of the entire firm. Our employees can have in that, which is a big thing.
That's awesome.
That's kind of where, you know, some of my background in corporate America kind of gave me that idea, and other people that work here. And we even bring in like motivational people. You know, we'll have like a motivational call a couple times a month to motivate our salespeople that we pay. We'll bring in like a wealth advisor that teaches them where to invest their money. So if they're making 15 or 20 grand a month or more, now we actually bring people in that actually teach them like really where to invest the money.
Yeah,
right.
Perfect,
so they're like, you know, this is their community, and we're getting a lot of them. You know, when we first moved into the office in I think it was October of 2021, so we're talking 2.5 years ago, there was me and like 4 people in this place, right? Now we have 181 employees and 1099s. But we're trying to get them more into this office, in these office spaces here, because most of them are virtual. So it's harder. You know, I've talked, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's so good. He's going to kill me for this. But I had him on my show probably about a month ago. And what he does, I'll get you the name after because it'll come to my mind. But what he does is he goes into companies, bring them in to really build that culture, you know, large companies, small companies. And he's like, hey, it's harder when your salespeople are virtual, it's harder to build that culture. It's like, I'm just going to tell you, it's way harder because you're on a computer. So how have you guys helped build that culture on a computer on Zoom with a lot of your people being virtual?
Like a big thing that we allocate every single month is a budget to like training and you know, we do spotlight calls. Like you have people come in from different industries to, you know, we do that as well. And then on top of that, like we run our own events. And they wanted to also be able to not just make money virtually, but make money in person. And they get to, you know, handshake with clients and really talk to them and build relationships. And it's also a way for them to travel. Like they became salespeople because they want to sell without fulfillment.
Yeah, right.
So they do that, and you have to understand like that social triangle there. Like they just want to be able to have fun, and like they like going out, they like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, they doing stuff like that. We you know, like I said, we've only have about 25 people in this office, but we're bringing in a lot more, especially our sales team, because we have 40-some people on the sales team. But right now, what we've been doing is flying them in for like a couple months at a time, you know, and we get them Airbnbs. So we have a budget every month of like freaking 3 or 4 Airbnbs, and we'll stuff like 12 or 15 sales guys in there and kind of rotate them around, because we even have some guys over in the UK or, you know, Australia, and with their visas, we can't get them in here full time right now with work visas and stuff. So we at least try to do that to bring them in 3 months a year, something in different Airbnbs. And then we have 3 live events a year here in Phoenix, where we bring salespeople and trainers in and other fulfillment staff. So we've got a lot, as Nick said, as you know, it's about to get crazy here in the next couple of days. We're bringing in probably another 30 or 40 people in here, because we have an event on Friday and Saturday down in Phoenix. So I think just little things like that help build the culture, the vision, and that really helps your reps like want to actually stay, because what we found is they want to make money, right? That's the important thing. They want to be recognized, but they want to feel a part of something that's really changing the world or changing something, right? And that's, as a sales training company, that's what we do. That's what you do as you know, a marketing partner. You're changing the way, you know, the marketplace views agencies, right? Because you're actually getting results for clients and stuff. So I really like that. What's any last words of advice you'd give to like a salesperson or even a business owner that could really help them like really grow their business with their ads? I know that's a kind of a generalized question.
I mean, the biggest thing I'd say is that the like just selling in general is not only going to cut it. Like if you can bring new ideas to the business owner to innovate new products and services too, you're going to be looked at a very higher status within the company.
So like a salesperson bringing ideas to their manager or their business owner. Why is that so important?
Because if they know the objections that they're experiencing often and more so, then they know that, hey, like if I bring this to Jason and we can create a product, now I can close more, and now everyone around me can close more, and they're going to look up to me, and I want to move them in the company. So I want to be held to a higher standard.
You know, it's so true, because our marketing team, we have about 25 people on our marketing team, between editors, you know, copywriters, ad people, and all that. So about 25, 30 people on our marketing team. And they always do surveys like every 2 weeks with our salespeople. Like, hey, what are you finding from the leads from YouTube? Like, and they have all this stuff. So it comes down to like, you know, what are you finding the leads from IG? What are you finding the leads here? And they have like all these survey questions, and that helps them be able to change ads around or anything like that, because they're getting like real life feedback from the actual salespeople.
And also, like all the objections, we actually use those as marketing hooks too.
What objections are you getting?
Right. So we use those as marketing hooks, like in the ads. And like I have this really good ad that I made because one of the biggest objections is, oh, I hear the word agency and I run.
Right.
So I literally have an ad of me in a dark room with tape over my mouth, and I'm like struggling in the chair, and it's like ad agencies got used, like it's a whole angle of like this is how you feel.
Like you're preventing the objection from happening because you're different, right? You're preventing. That's really brilliant, because it's almost like it's objection prevention. We talk about in a sales call or appointment, you know, if you're B2B or B2C, in person, on Zoom, on the phone, actually preventing the objection from happening in their mind rather than trying to overcome a bunch of objections at the end. When I was in sales, I was always more worried about preventing the objection rather than like handling it. But I'd rather prevent it rather than have to handle it at the end, because it's way easier. You know what I mean? So in marketing, it's the same thing. If you can prevent the objection before they even get to the sales call, salesperson's more likely to close that deal, right? Because they're not worried about, oh, you're just another ad agency. Right?
And like a big tip too for people who are selling for marketing services, the thing that we've seen that's done very well is that they just depend on automations and reminders and all of this. Like that stuff's great. Like I'm not opposed to it, but the thing that we've seen that's crushed is if you go out of your way to send a Loom video going over somebody's business, whatever that looks like, and you send it to them before the call, the morning of, the close rates are so much higher. Like going the extra mile makes you look different.
They feel like they look at you as more of an expert that knows what they're talking about, and they feel like you understand their unique situation. That's what we say, like people and companies will always buy from the salesperson or company who they feel understands their unique situation the most. If they feel like you understand their unique situation the most, they will pay you more because they feel like you understand them more. So if they feel like you understand them more, they feel like you can get them the best result. They don't buy from salespeople or companies that give them cookie cutter stuff, like cookie cutter questions, because they don't feel like you really understand their business. Right? So they don't feel like if you don't understand their business, how are you going to get them the result? Like as a marketing partner, if you don't understand their business or niche, how the hell are you going to get them the right leads, right? It's the same thing as a sales training company. Like, well, if you don't understand my industry, how are you going to help us sell more, right? It's the same concept and everything. All right, I love the book. Where can they buy the book? Where can they learn more about what you do? Because I know we have a lot of even business owners as well that might want to look at hiring your firm for their ads. So where should they go to find out information?
So they can go on Instagram at the Jason Wojo. If they want to get a new copy of the book, it's adsthatsellbook.com.
Okay, adsthatsellbook.com.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So go to their adsthatsellbook.com. I think we'll have the link and everything. Jason, thanks for coming here in town. I know you've been here on a few podcasts and everything. And thank you for being our makeshift podcast room. Our videographer, Nick, always makes it look cool, even though it's like a part of our conference room in here because we have nowhere else to go for our podcast room. All right, brother.
I appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thank
Second
you.
time, we got to get you back on here in a couple of years.
Yeah.
See where you're at.
Do it.
Hopefully we have a new podcast studio in a couple of years. Are they going to get that done by then? Maybe.
He looks so stressed out.
He's like, well, we'll see. Always something comes up. All right, everybody. Love you. We'll see you on the next episode. Go get his book. I can assure you he does advertising for a lot of my friends, okay, that I trust. So if he does advertising for them, I trust them. I trust this guy. He was on the show 3 years ago when we were a nobody. We were like little kids over here. You were probably a lot smaller business 3 years ago, right? Yeah. So things can change every couple of years if you do the right thing. So enjoy it. Go get the book, and we'll see you on the next episode. If you want to sell more as well and you haven't joined our free Facebook group, you're always welcome to go to salesrevolution.group. I'll make it easy, salesrevolution.group. About 130,000 some salespeople in there. That a lot of them are clients that will gladly help you with your questions as well. I even get in there sometimes, and sometimes we even give you free, little hors d'oeuvres of training and golden nuggets in there. Jason, thanks for coming out.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.